Coming to you from our downtown studios, good Pac-12 football. We got a truckload. Welcome into HouseOfSpooky.com for this Halloween edition. He's Jake, I'm Elwood, and we're on a mission from God because we're the Blues Brothers. And Jake, before we get started with the show, I have one question for you.
Let me hear it.
Can you see the highlights?
You can see the highlights, and so can you. Let's get right into it. Arizona State heading up to Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Utes. Let's get right into the action. First drive for the Sun Devils. You want to invest in Brandon Reese because he is money. 47-yard field goal, and he wouldn't stop there. About a minute later, Utes quarterback Tyler Huntley finding someone, but it's Jamarcus Rose, not his intended receiver, and that would set up the Sun Devils in good field position and set up another good field goal for Brandon Reese. This time from 40 yards out, cha-ching. Another money for him. He is just straight cash. It's still in the first quarter. A 12-play drive for the Sun Devils, cashed in for a return of 3 points. That's Brandon Reese again, 9-0 for the Sun Devils at this point, and that was a 30-yard field goal. Late second quarter, Manny Wilkins wants to get in on the action, tosses it to Demario Richard, hop, skip, and jump right into the end zone for the touchdown. 16-0 Sun Devils at this point. And then right before halftime, Huntley trying to find an open receiver, but Chase Lucas comes down with it instead. First interception for the redshirt freshman's career, and ASU shutting out the Utes for the first half. For Utah, their first drive of the third quarter, it's another field goal. This time courtesy of Utes' Matt Gay, who puts it in 53 yards out. That's quite the boot that he has. 16-3 Sun Devils. Wilkins just deciding to keep it himself. He goes into the end zone, barely gets in, but it is confirmed it's a touchdown for him, and those fans are loving it. Fourth quarter for him. Huntley trying to find an open receiver, looking downfield, intercepted by J.J. Wilson, who returns it to the house, his first pick six of his career, and that will do it. That'll put the game out of the hands for the Utes. Arizona State wins their second in a row, 30-10, and Reese named Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week for the second time this season. Well, you just saw the highlights, and you probably see that I lost the hat and glasses because we're all business here at HouseOfSpooky.com. That's why we bring on Julian Paras to analyze this game a little bit more. Against the Utes, the defense looked stellar. And also they will look stellar against the Washington Huskies when they came to Tempe. Is there something brewing with the defense? Because they look a lot more aggressive and a lot more big out there than they did at the beginning of the season.
Well, there were definitely some factors that played into the ASU victory, and especially on the Utah side. So, for example, Utah's QB, Tyler Huntley, he was coming back from a shoulder injury. And obviously that showed that he was affected. He threw 4 picks, and he only threw for about 155 yards. On top of that, Utah said that they didn't do enough of their assignments and they could have done better to the best of their ability to try to study ASU. But ASU looked like the better team. They were more prepared, they were more calm, and they were able to execute.
And Todd Graham even mentioned that they have been a better team as of lately, and they've been on a momentum train lately. Someone who has been on a momentum train this season has been Manny Wilkins, the quarterback for the Sun Devil team. And as of recently, his games have looked a little shaky at times. What does he need to do in order to have a breakout game against the Trojans?
Well, the thing that Wilkins has to keep in mind is that he has to keep playing his brand of football. He doesn't need to change much, but he has to play cautiously and smart. And you saw that in the past game against Utah, where they were able to hold on for the ball for about 36 minutes of possession on the offensive end. And on top of that, I think another thing that he has to keep in mind is working with his teammates, working off of players like Demario Richards, Kalen Ballage, N'Keal Harry. They've all been reliable options for Wilkins up to this point in the season.
So we've talked about the offense, we've talked about the defense. I want to ask you one more question. Who's going to have the flashier season at the end of the year?
That's a tough one. I have to say it's really hard because referring again to guys like N'Keal Harry, Demario Richards, Kalen Ballage, they're great options for the offense, not to mention Manny Wilkins himself, who can move in between rushing and passing the ball. But on the defensive end, you've got guys like Christian Sam, who has gone 5 straight consecutive games, tackling for more than tackling 10 or more times per game. You've also got guys like J.J. Wilson, who also showed up as a defensive player for the first time in his career against Utah, and he got the interception, which was incredible. So I think for me, it's going to be the defense. They've been categorized as a stingy defense. I don't know what that means to you, but that seems pretty good to me. And because of it, ASU is seen as a title contender this year. They've been able to build up a lot more momentum when it comes to defense. compared to USC, who has come off their shaky loss against Notre Dame. So I think that ASU is going to be able to transition and really bring the fight to USC.
Well, let's see if this Sun Devil defense can be like a bee and really sting it to them, Julian. Thanks again for being here. And that game can be caught tonight at 7:45 on ESPN.
During Arizona State's last 2 wins in conference play, a lot of people have been impressed on how ASU has been able to turn a 2-3 overall record to a 4-3 with consecutive upset wins. What's even more impressive is the fact that the Sun Devils have done it as the cleanest team in the Pac-12. They lead the conference with the least amount of penalties with 22 over 7 contests, only giving up a total of 31 yards a game. The numbers say that since 2012, ASU is 37-16 when committing fewer than 6 penalties in a game. In Arizona State's win over former number 5 Washington, they committed just one penalty for 5 yards. And against Utah last week, they committed 2 for just 25. In 2016, the Sun Devils gave up 52 yards a game and ended the season with a 2-7 conference record. But it seems like head coach Todd Graham's discipline is working.
I mean, I'm doing construction management, so it's pretty easy to just throw on a little construction outfit with a little hard hat and vest. So.
Do you already have all the neon orange and stuff?
Yeah, I have to have it all for my classes. So if I do anything, that'll probably be it.
No, I feel like Sam Jones might be a better person to dress up. You know, he's got the whole Thor thing going, the Game of Thrones thing going. Sam Jones definitely be a Halloween guy. I'm just kind of, I chill, I lay back. I try not to do nothing crazy. I'm scary myself. That's what people say. I'm just kidding.
Maybe the Old Spice guy. I don't know, whatever.
Go as Napier, man. If we beat USC, I might do the impersonation like right in the middle of the locker room. Like, it's hilarious, man. Just to impersonate him, but he loves it too, so it's cool. Yeah.
Well, you just heard from a small sample of the team, and they've got some creative Halloween costumes. Troy, a construction worker, the Old Spice guy, even offensive coach Napier.
Kyle Williams took my costume idea. I was totally going to be the Old Spice guy before he picked it. I'm not mad. It's whatever. I probably couldn't even pull it off anyway.
Yeah, well, you might have lost your Halloween costume, but we're not losing confidence on this show as we head into Pros and Cons, one of our favorite segments on the show, where Troy and I talk about the ups and downs of Sun Devil football. Let's get right into it. My first con of the day, this Sun Devil defense is going up against USC, one of the best teams in the history of college football as well. And they've proven that they've had a good season this year. 32 points per game average, along with 1,300 rushing yards, along with over 2,300 passing yards. That is a tough team to go up against. They're putting up big numbers. I don't think this Sun Devil defense can match up against them.
It's going to be hard, but the good news is that they're getting one of their best defensive players back in A.J. Latu. J.J. Wilson filled up his position last week against Utah, but A.J. Latu, this is 1 in a million type guys when it comes to defense. He had 4.5 sacks on the season. That's only in 6 games, which is tied for the team lead. He also has 6.5 tackles for loss. This is a guy that was dearly missed, but Arizona State, for some reason, they can just put guys in these new roles, and they've been doing pretty well, but it's going to be good news for this defense to have Latu back.
And one of the most consistent players for the Trojans has been Sam Darnold, the quarterback for this Trojan team. His interception numbers are up as of lately, yes, but his touchdown numbers, he's thrown 17 touchdowns.
That's a lot.
And he also has a 63 completion percentage rating, along with almost 2,300 passing yards. He is a dangerous man to have in the pocket, and the Trojans are so thankful that he's there. He's one of those quarterbacks that if he gets hot, there's no stopping him.
He's dangerous to opposing defenses, but he's also dangerous to himself. He has 10 interception on the season. But J.J. Wilson, he's a guy who had his first career interception, and he brought it back for a pick 6 last week against Tyler Huntley and the Utes. This guy stepped in, and it was his first career defensive start. Gets a pick 6. He got to Huntley a couple of times, broke up some passes. This guy is just an all-around athlete, transferring from offense to defense, and he is not disappointed. Granted, Latu will be back in that linebacker role, but it's always good to have depth for your defense, and Sun Devils, they arguably have one of the best defenses in the Pac-12 right now.
Well, Troy, you know that I'm a big history guy, and I looked at the numbers for this historical matchup that USC has had with ASU. They've played each other 32 times. USC has won 20 of those matchups. And if you look at recent scores in the past, 5 years, they've been blowouts. 41-20 USC, 42-14, USC. 38-17, USC again.
All right.
And now they're coming up. They're going to Tempe, which has some momentum for the Sun Devils because they're playing at home and they've been really good at home. But USC, they're a tough team to contend with. Sam Darnold, he's a really dangerous quarterback. And the receivers, man, can they run for some yards?
Yeah, but do the Trojans have a Jail Mary to their resume? I don't think so. But USC been dominating the Sun Devils since the test of time, but they're coming off a just horrible loss against Notre Dame, 49-14. That is just not a great score to have. Granted, the Fighting Irish, they are a legit team this year, and I'm not taking anything away from them. But this USC team just does not look the same as what we saw last year. Sam Darnold got his first collegiate start and first collegiate win against the Sun Devils in 2016, but this is a very different team. 10 interceptions for Darnold. They're shaken up right now, and I think Arizona State, with a 2-conference win streak, they can take advantage of that. So that's pros and cons. Who won? We'll leave it up for you to debate. But right now, we're going to send it to around the Pac-12 with Austin Burnett.
Thanks, Troy. Well, believe it or not, we're more than halfway through the college football season, and we're starting to find out who the real contenders are in the Pac-12. The most entertaining game this weekend was the double overtime thriller between Cal and Arizona. Arizona quarterback Khalil Tate continues to dominate on the ground, and the sophomore has also peaked into the Heisman conversation. Tate had another game over 100 yards rushing and scored his 7th rushing touchdown of the season in the Wildcats' 45-44 win over the Golden Bears. Arizona State is now relevant in the Pac-12 South after its 20-point victory over Utah. Washington State is coming back after the Cougars shut out the Colorado Buffaloes 28-0. And Josh Rosen and the Bruins defeated the very injured Oregon Ducks 31-14, giving UCLA their 4th win of the season. Notre Dame and USC went head-to-head in one of the most prestigious rivalries in college football, and there was no love lost when these two teams met in South Bend. Sam Darnold and the Trojans were the Pac-12's last hope at getting a Pac-12 team into the college football playoff. But the Fighting Irish ran all over the Trojans, and Sam Darnold still hasn't quite lived up to the expectations of a Heisman candidate, or one of the best quarterbacks in the country that many people thought he would be. The Irish shut down USC, and any chance of a Pac-12 team making it to the college football playoff. Blaine?
In ASU's matchup against Utah, linebacker J.J. Wilson intercepted Utes quarterback Tyler Huntley and took it into the end zone, putting the score out of reach for the Utes. Only catch? Wilson wasn't always a linebacker. At the start of the season, people knew him as the tight end of the Sun Devils. He was coming off a 3-touchdown season in which he only had 4 receptions. After Karan Crump's injury, Coach Todd Graham said that Wilson came up to him personally and offered to play wherever they needed him. And now Wilson dons a white jersey at practice. On defense, the California native has wrangled 10 total tackles and broken up 2 pass attempts, along with that interception, of course. Now, Wilson hasn't played defense since a small amount in high school, but he has impressed fans with the versatility he brings. Sure, the Sun Devils lost a key offensive weapon, but they gained a grinder on defense. Now, instead of catching touchdowns, he's preventing them, unless you count that pick 6. And that's why J.J. Wilson is our feel-good story of the week.
Thanks so much, Blaine, for that J.J. Wilson feel-good story of the week. But Wilson and the Arizona State defense, they're going to have their hands full because USC comes to town. But that's why we bring in Josiah, Destin, one of our experts on the show. And USC still leading the Pac-12 South with a 4-1 record, but the Sun Devils, they're right behind them. So this is a very big week for both of the teams. USC coming off a really tough loss to Notre Dame last weekend. A lot of people are putting the blame on quarterback Sam Darnold. It was amazing last year, 17 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year. Can you put all the blame on him?
I mean, you can't put all of it on him, but I mean, 10 interceptions, that's already more than he had last season.
Right.
He's got 9 turnovers in the last 2 games, 6 of them fumbles.
Wow.
And the other 3 interceptions, so I mean, you're not even talking about the fumbles, Troy. I mean, Darnold hasn't been great, but he's able to use the guys around him, and that's why the Trojans have won 6 games this season. That's why they're able to be in first place in the Pac-12. So, let's take a look at this play right here. But as great as he's been, here's a play where he does throw an interception, and here's why. I mean, look at this. He's got a wide receiver up there, Tyler Vaughns, and that's his primary target, down 21-0. Darnold, he wants to make it fly. He wants to go far, but it might not be the best idea because look at his tight end. He's wide open there. That's an easy 5 yards. But no, he wants Vaughns, so he sees Vaughns down the field, but it's Nick Watkins, the spy, who's going to look like he's coming in on him. But no, he's actually going to drift backwards, and Darnold throws it over the wrong side of the shoulder, too high, leaps up, catches it all the way back to the 40-yard line, setting up great field position. And I mean, that's just a play that cannot happen for Darnold. So Darnold actually is able to use his receivers in this play to his benefit because he doesn't try to force anything, Troy. And look at this, man-to-man coverage up front, bottom, cluster of receivers, and that leaves a ton of room up top for Deontay Burnett, the receiver way at the top of your screen, and who's going to put a little dazzle and show business here on this Notre Dame cornerback. Look at that. Get off of me. Burnett said it. Another guy, Nick Coleman. No way he's going to catch Burnett. Off balance. Boom. Get him all the way down into the 30-yard line, and he's got that Juju Smith-Schuster, that Adoree Jackson type speed that USC players have, and definitely ASU's got to look out for.
Yeah, he's really athletic. If I were Todd Graham, I'd make sure Kobe Williams and Chase Lucas, they're not giving him too much space because he can make some stuff happen. But for this Trojan defense, it's a kind of a different story. Ton of injuries going on this roster, and they give up a lot of rushing yards, especially to the Fighting Irish just last weekend.
Yeah, Troy, 377.
That's ridiculous.
To be almost 400.
I know.
I mean, that's kind of unheard of. But, the reason for that, Troy, is that this USC defense is missing a lot of guys, as you mentioned. There's almost or even over 20 players who are either probable, questionable, or just out for Saturday's game. So, let's take a look at a few guys who really are in that position who aren't used to being on first team. So there's freshman defensive lineman Brandon Peely. He wasn't even on the depth chart to start the season. Isaiah Langley, he's filling in for Iman Marshall. And then at linebacker, that's Jordan Iosefa, who's fresh off second string. So let's see this play right here. Peely actually makes a good move. He's able to get up to the running back, but gets blocked up by an offensive lineman. Now here we go. Iosefa, all he's going to do, he's got one man to beat. He's got Josh Adams, 1-to-1. But look, airborne, misses the tackle, another missed tackle up there. Langley's got to go all the way up to around the 50-yard line just to get him. So, I mean, those are three guys who aren't even on first team who've got to get involved in a play like that, and that's just not great business for USC. And now on this play, this is really just a lack of awareness for watching the quarterback. These three guys in the secondary, they're going to move back, but it's the linebacker's job who they're in charge of making sure these big plays do not happen. And watch this here. Brandon Wimbush starts to run. Look at that open space. Whose fault is that, Troy?
Oh my gosh.
Let's look at that. Cameron Smith.
Probably
Cameron
them.
Smith running from behind the linebackers. And here we go. Gonna jet out Langley again. There he is. Does he jump? No, doesn't. But he hurdles over this defender all the way inside, almost to the 5-yard line. So, I mean, Troy, that's really where USC needs help, is just on defense against the run, even if the quarterback's running the ball. Yeah, well, Kalen Ballage and Demario Richard probably expected to have a pretty good day when the Trojans come into town, but still they're the 21 team ranked in the nation. How do you see this game playing out? Because it's a big game for both these teams. Yeah, I mean, let's not put USC down to where we're really talking about them right now. They're still number 21. They still only lost 2 games. They know how to take care of business against teams that they're better than. But I think ASU is very evenly matched with this Trojans team, and especially on defense. I mean, if ASU can limit them to around 20 points under then, I think the Sun Devils are going to have no problem scoring against this USC team. So let's take it ASU 27-21. All right, well, we'll see what happens come game time. That's 7:45 on ESPN. And remember, Sam Darnold, his first collegiate win was against Arizona State just last year. But Josiah, thanks so much for being on the show. But let's get into our Pac-12 top plays of the week. Play number 3, Arizona State taking a quick field trip to Utah. Tyler Huntley gets picked off by J.J. Wilson, and Wilson trucks Huntley in the end zone just for fun. That was his first career defensive start and first career interception. ASU wins 30-10.
Hey, let's take you to the Bay Area as Cal looking for the game-winning 2-point conversion. No way, Jose, says Colin Schooler as he swats it away, and the Wildcats win in double overtime and their 3rd straight game.
But our top play goes to UCLA versus Oregon. Bolu run from me, finding some open space, 22 yards, heads up, and Tim Burr falls into the end zone for the touchdown, and I bet he's going to hear this pickup line a lot. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven, or 6 feet over that Ducks defender? My goodness, kicked him right in the face.
Oh, man.
But the Bruins were able to kiss the Ducks goodbye, 31-14, and have our top play of the week. Now, Blaine, I know it's Halloween weekend and everything, but that fall from All Run From Me, looked like it was pretty scary.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's one of the coolest highlights that we've seen on House
Agreed.
of Spooky's football show as well. How do you say his name? Alu Run?
Alu, run for me.
Alu Run for me.
Make me say it again, I dare you.
All right. Alu Run?
Alu, run for me.
Alu Run for me.
Alu, run for me.
Well, remember the name, and remember that our costumes may just win an award for
right.
Best On-Air Personality Costumes for the Halloween season. But we want to thank you for joining us on this episode of House of Sparky's Football Show. Arizona State, USC, coming up tonight in Tempe. I'm Jake. He's Elwood. Make sure to catch everything on houseofspooky.com.